What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I'm going to be talking about the things that I'm trying to learn and get better at over the past year and also moving forward after the first episode of this type of video that I did last year, and this one is sponsored by Lenovo. So in this video, we're going to talk about a lot of things, both in terms of life and business. On the lifestyle side of things, I'm trying to be more on time, trying to make my own coffee and get better at it. I did give up the cooking side. I'm also trying to pick up a few more hobbies, such as learning how to drive this Formula One simulator much better, and just like finding things that I can sort of enjoy. Golf is also another thing that I'm trying to get better at. But on the business side of things, we're also working on a lot of big things this year, including an online course for the very first time on the business side of YouTube. I'm also trying to improve on the clothing brand that has a retail store in downtown Victoria and learning email marketing, as well as the podcast side of things. I'm really trying to bring that back in a much more casual and intellectual format than it was before. Of course, I also have 2 renovation projects within the same year, including the office that we're sitting in right now, and also another investment property. So I've learned a lot about like interior design, project management, and trying to budget a project such as the office that ended up going much more expensive than I expected. So we're gonna talk about like the investment and business side of what I've learned, as well as a bit about my investments in the stock market that really haven't gone that well and have stayed relatively stagnant because it is something that I'm completely new to. And I think a lot of times in life, you realize that you're really good at one thing and you really focus on that, and you feel like these skills are able to apply to many different other industries. But as soon as you get into it, you kind of realize that every space is a little bit different in its own, and it's all just a learning experience that you kind of have to figure out. So I feel like with the lack of travel in the past year and a half or so, and what is going to be moving forward until everybody gets vaccinated, it has been a good opportunity to just learn things, try new things, improve on things that we may not have been as good at in the past, because before I felt like the schedule kind of established itself as time went on, and I was like flying every single week, and I just felt like I never really had a chance to improve on stuff. And so yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Before I jump into the first thing though, I want to give a huge thanks to the sponsor of this video, Lenovo, and their IdeaPad Slim 7i computer. With the whole work from home thing in the past year, I know a lot of people are looking into upgrading their computer and their workflow because essentially everything does circle around your main machine in terms of productivity. And this computer right here, I feel like is a really good balance of a good value price point that is very attainable, but it also has an i7 10th generation processor, a beautiful 14-inch display that is 300 nits, full HD, and also HDR compatible with Dolby Vision. It also does have Dolby Atmos speakers, so I think right off the bat, just based on its really slim and portable form factor and its metal finish, it is able to suit the productivity and also multimedia side of things. I just really like the fact that the bezels are really small. The computer is very fast and responsive, and when it comes to durability, it is made out of metal, and I really like the fact that the branding is super minimal. It just has a small Lenovo logo on the side, and other than that, it is just a clean kind of gunmetal finish. And when it comes to I/O, it also has a Thunderbolt port and full-size HDMI, which is all really nice to see, and the computer charges via USB Type-C, which is probably the best solution because you don't have to have like a proprietary power brick to bring around everywhere. On the other side, you also have 2 USB 3 ports, one of which being fast charging, and you can also expand the storage through a micro SD card slot. I also find that the keyboard and trackpad was very responsive and super easy to type on, which is another area that I think is extremely important when it comes to a productivity computer. So I think if you guys are looking for a great computer that comes in at a really good price point for all the things that are offered, and something that is able to serve as a good multimedia and also machine for work, then the IdeaPad 7 is definitely something that you want to go ahead and check out, and I'm going to drop a link to everything down below. So even though I have learned video editing and a bit of Photoshop and some software for workflow in general, one area that I've always been really weak at is web design. And I've tried using WordPress in the past. I've also experimented with Squarespace, but the one that I've really liked recently is Webflow. And so we've actually made a media company website on Webflow, and I also plan to make the landing page for the course where we have like the newsletter and the information on Webflow as well. I feel like it's like a good combination between like a WordPress and a Squarespace style platform where you have a ton of different customization options. You have animations and transitions as well. It is relatively easy to use for someone who is really new to this stuff, for someone like myself. And even though I do get some help where I can, I feel like Webflow has been a good balance of just a familiar platform, but also one that feels like I have infinite customization. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I pay for the plan myself. And so, yeah, this website for the media company is very, very simple. It just has like general information and everything of like what we do, the companies that we've worked with, and also like some of the like resources and facilities. So if any companies want to like work with us on YouTube, they can at least see the media company side and production side of it, because with a YouTube channel and one that is structured like a media company, we have the production and promotion side that is all under one roof, which is the YouTube channel that you guys are looking at right now. In terms of the course itself, we're still trying to like figure out what theme we want, what text and all that kind of stuff. And although we will probably hire somebody to work on a template or a theme, we do want to try to learn as much as possible just to get a feel for it. And so when we need someone to kind of work on something, we at least know what we're talking about. And I feel like that is sort of like the process of business where I try to learn as much of something on my own in a short period of time, and then I hand it off and delegate it and only learn enough to be able to instruct and kind of figure out or be familiar with what is going on in my own projects. We actually do use WordPress as well, and I haven't really mentioned that website because we haven't really been updating it that often, but recently we've kind of corresponded with videos. And I think the intention of that website at this point is going to correspond with a course where we talk about like business. I can write like different columns and blog posts about different case studies. I also plan to put all the home projects and the videos that have a list format on there so we can show like the images and summary of each product in kind of like a kit template. And that will also help with affiliate sales, and that's like the passive income side of the business that we're also really trying to improve. So I feel like the website is essentially an area that we can showcase our visuals, the photography, the full resolution images of our office, which we haven't really been able to show in video yet. And the videos are coming up, but I feel like it's a nice medium for us to run. And we have like interns that can write articles on that and convert some of the videos over to articles. And kind of going back to the topic of diversifying, I've always really focused on the sponsorship and brand area of the business because that was what was generating the most revenue for the company. But other areas that we kind of lacked a bit was like AdSense and recurring income, such as the passive income on Amazon affiliates. So with some of the things that we've seen recently with like partnerships with desk companies and how many desks that we were really able to sell, it was a bit of a wake-up call as to just how much money we could be making through affiliate sales. And so now I'm focusing a lot more on affiliate revenue, both through videos and also other mediums such as quick articles that we can write on the website that really do utilize our visuals in ways that we're not really leveraging it on YouTube. So on the hobby side of things, this is my new toy, and I know it's like a little bit crazy and overkill and all of the above, but in the past 2 years, I've become a huge Formula One fan, and I really can't name many things that I'd wake up at 5 and 6 in the morning for, aside from watching a race. So one thing that I've really wanted to work on for the past like 6 months was to get a crazy simulator going. And I think like the fun part about it, beyond being a fan of the sport itself, is just that like you look at the virtual times that the pro drivers are able to do, and even like Verstappen himself, and you kind of just like really want to get as close as possible to it in the manual settings. So being someone who's never actually driven a car in stick, this is all like kind of automatic paddles, but just being able to learn like the gear shifts on the corner, the braking points, learning the tracks and all that kind of stuff has been a lot of fun. And I can tell you that there's multiple times where I meant to go and play this for like 5 to 10 minutes, and like 4 hours later, I was still sitting here driving the simulator on like a work day. So yeah, I mean, I just got it set up and there's still a lot of kinks that we have to work out, but so far it has been a lot of fun, and I plan to make a video on this specifically. So something else that I also really want to bring back in 2021 is the podcast. And to be totally honest with you, there wasn't really any reason as to why we stopped doing the podcast. We simply got way too busy, and as something that I was just doing for fun on weekends, I felt like over time it started to get a little bit boring. There was a lot of obligations with it and trying to make sure we keep updated with it. It also costs a lot of money for editors and just to produce it in general. And in fact, at some point, I think we spent more money producing the podcast than we did producing the YouTube videos, because I'm the one who's filming and editing them. And because I was filming in my parents' basement and this office wasn't ready yet, I would have to kind of drive over and bring all the equipment, and it just kind of lost its fun over the few months. But it had nothing to do with the content itself. I loved having those conversations, and you guys actually really liked the podcast as well. I think we had 20,000 listens, which we were very surprised by in the first 12 episodes. So we did actually do a practice podcast, and I've now got 4 microphones thanks to our Aussie friends at Rode, and they hooked us up with 4 of these. So now we can kind of sit in this very casual situation and just talk to the camera and just not feel like we're strapped in this very uncomfortable chair in the set that I made. So I think the biggest objective with the podcast is just to keep it super fun and have no expectations with it. So when it comes back, we're gonna have casual conversation with friends, but also have episodes that are guided by co-hosts that ask the questions that really kind of dig deep into the brain and have more of an analytical side. And I think that will go very well with the course that we're also planning to launch. So the next thing that I'm also trying to learn is how to launch an online course, and essentially the whole process of making one, writing the content, producing it, distributing it, maintaining it, and everything about it. And I know it's kind of ironic that we have to learn how to make a course about learning, but the reason why I wanted to do a course is because I have quite a few friends that are in that industry, and it always seemed kind of interesting. And I know with the whole pandemic, Skillshare has been very popular, masterclass, and specifically individual courses that whether creators make or just the education online in general has been a huge space. And I've always felt even though we make a lot of YouTube videos and this is what you guys see, a lot of times what people don't know much about is the business side. And I think the business side is something that we've done a very good job in. We're always trying to figure out the content and production and that kind of thing. And I feel like sitting in front of the camera and that side is just not my strength, whereas the business side is what really does excite me. So we're targeting anywhere between a 15 to 20 hour course content. It's gonna be a lot of talking, and that is kind of typical to our videos, but I feel whether it is real world experience, breakdowns, case studies, and information of how to start a YouTube channel, how to maximize, how to leverage your following, and increasing revenue, finding different streams, and once you're able to build a good revenue, ways that I've personally invested my money and I feel have been a really good area and a blend of having a media company and a YouTube channel, as well as the whole long-term investment side. There's just so much to talk about, and I feel the course just makes a lot of sense, but it's going to be a lot of work. And with Thinkific, it allows you to design the entire course and have all of your content ready to distribute on their platform, and it is also where the entire course is hosted. So people can go ahead and log in, navigate the course, and go through the whole learning process and the segments that you have it in. I just really like the interface. It is super easy to design, very customizable, and they also have very good support. And so I feel this is a platform that makes a lot of sense in our case. It also manages all the payments and everything with no fees. And there's also an affiliate platform, which I heard is a huge part of courses, where people can be incentivized to share your course, talk about it, and as a result, they get a kickback. And the whole affiliate platform is also built in to the Thinkific platform as well. So that is all really nice. The other side of the online course is also distribution, and whether that is Facebook ads and Google ads, there's also a very important aspect, which is email marketing. And I hear in e-commerce that is perhaps the most important field, building an email list, whether it's through the following on YouTube or through ads. And as a result, giving value through a PDF or a preview of the course, which in turn hopefully leads to converted sales. Not only am I using MailChimp for my course, but I also plan to use it for the clothing company Dangerfield that I co-own as well, because we've actually used a bit of email marketing on Kinsta that I talked about. And even though it has converted in positive cash flow and some sales, I just don't really like the way way it looks that much. And so I think MailChimp is going to be where we try to run everything on. And not only is it very customizable, you can make it look good. You can also really analyze the data and see what percentage of people opened it. It also has like all the automation stuff. So I feel like MailChimp is like the industry standard. So that is what we plan to use ourselves for both the online course and also the clothing store. I think visuals are what I really want to make look good. And when it comes to analyzing data, I feel like that does relate a lot to YouTube, because we take a look at the reach, the CTR, and how videos are performing based on the thumbnail style and the title, the watch time. And so I want to kind of bring that over to the email marketing side, but I know it's going to be a huge learning experience and it may not go as well as we think at first. So another thing that I'm also trying to like get into a little bit is investing on the market. And I'm someone who really hasn't traded stocks that often and haven't really done it at all, to be honest. I've really been into the real estate side, and as I mentioned in previous videos, we're now on the third property, and I just really like the aspect of having a tangible property that I'm able to redo in a YouTube series, which obviously has like profit benefits on that side as well, but in the future, hopefully be able to sell it for more or rent it at a profit. But with real estate and with anything in general, there's always like benefits and drawbacks. Real estate can take a little bit longer. It is tangible, so if you want to move it, it's something that you can sell, but it isn't as easy. With condos especially, there's a lot of fees and stuff and like maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So I felt like a way to kind of diversify my knowledge was to try to invest a little bit more and learn the market. And in Canada, there's something called the TFSA, which is something similar that the US has as well. And each year, depending on your age, you're able to put a certain amount of money into the stock market and the profits are tax-free. And so I decided to max out my TFSA, which at my age was about $40,000. And from there, find both short and long-term stocks to invest in. I did Tesla, I did NEO, and I also just did like standard S&P 500. And I also put about 6,000 into my trade account on Wealthsimple. It's my first time using this app, and kind of picked like Apple, Air Canada, and also Coin, which is the Coinbase platform. So I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of just like getting into it and just testing around. So if there's like any books or stuff that you guys think I should read, let me know. But I would say for now, when it comes to trading, I do want to have some long-term investments because of the tax-free account. But I think real estate is an area that I'm like truly passionate about, whether it's for the investment purposes or not, and I plan to do a little bit more of. I have also been looking a little bit into crypto, and that is an area that like is very controversial. Some people really like it, others aren't on it at all. But I think just being experimental is always very important. And so I have looked into and kind of followed the market of Ethereum and also Bitcoin. I don't really know when or if I should drop into it or if we should invest a portion of our business into that, whether it's like the Instagram income stream. But another platform that I've also learned a little bit about is BitClout. And I first started seeing some people that I followed on it about a month ago share their profiles and say like get in on it early. And essentially it is still an extremely early platform, and I'm not gonna like tell you guys to go and buy it, but if you're on it, I do have a profile and I do see the potential in it after like looking through the documents and doing a little bit of research on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop a link to the document that I personally learned the most from. So essentially it is a blockchain currency that you buy using Bitcoin, and it is called BitClout. And with the BitClout, you can go to your favorite creators, the ones that you think will have a lot of potential or somebody who might offer a lot of perks on the platform. You could buy their creator coin, and it is essentially like a stock market for a social profile or a public figure on that platform. So because the platform is so early, a lot of your favorite creators haven't actually activated their profile yet or claimed it and verified it. So say you go ahead and buy some creator coin of your favorite creator, they end up going on the platform, promoting it, and maybe offering perks on it, their price goes up. And that is why, because the platform is so early, the values have gone up like crazy. And so I put in like $2,300 into it the other day, and now that is worth over $10,000. But the biggest thing is you aren't actually able to withdraw it back into Bitcoin or cash just yet. But the reason why there is some credibility to it is that some of the backers are the biggest names in crypto and the tech world, such as the Winklevoss twins and also Alexis Ohanian and Sequoia Capital. They're all backers in it, but it is like so early that eventually, if there's an option to withdraw, which is a big if, but I do have a reason to believe that it will, then a lot of people are going to jump onto the platform, and a lot of the skeptics' biggest question is going to be solved. So As I said, I'm just trying to like play around with it, but if you guys are on the platform, my profile is gonna be linked down below as well. And I mean, I do feel like I want to do like some perks and some specific things on that platform in the future. Something else that I also feel like I've tried to learn more of in the past year, but is kind of carried over from previous years, is general interior design and also construction planning. So just as like a story, you guys might remember last year I purchased this office space, and at the time I thought the renovation was going to cost anywhere from 40 to 50,000. We actually hired a company to kind of design and give us a framework and a construction quote of the space, and they had quoted us at 150,000 for the renovation. And I thought that was ridiculous, and that if I was to bring on my own project manager and work in conjunction with Bryce, who was my classmate in elementary school, I was able to get the budget much lower. So we set a budget of about $60,000 to $70,000 for the renovation. And to be totally honest with you, after all this was said and done, it ended up costing about $110,000 to $115,000. So it was more than double what I originally thought it was going to cost, but it was still less than what the construction company had quoted us. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we definitely learned a lot from this project, and there's obviously a lot of areas that we could have saved money on, but because this is the office that I spent my entire day in, I figured we would go a little bit more high end and focus on the details. Even crazy stuff like matching the wood on the sladding with the furniture and going with real walnut, custom steel bar railings, and just like everything, we tried to generally go for the best. It was inevitable that the budget was going to increase, and with the sponsorships and video episodes that we did for this renovation series, it ended up making sense in some areas to renovate certain spots that we maybe weren't originally planning to do so. Just on the like actual learning experience of renovations, I feel like things are always going to go over budget, and eventually as you do more projects, you're able to kind of keep a better control of it and have a better feel for both timeline and price. Whether it's doing your research, knowing how to shop your rate around, finding good trades and bad trades, that is all things that I'm learning and trying to bring over to my next project that we're working on right now, but also interior design. You might have realized that my places before were very plain and boring. I try to decorate the office a little bit better, but just like choosing the color, choosing the functionality, and keeping things in mind, such as the use case with the Husky cabinet and also the resale value of the place and what fixtures make sense, what we're gonna ROI on when I decide to sell it, and what are just good pieces to have for personal enjoyment. Those are all things that I've really tried to balance and has kind of come together in what has become a great series on the channel where we talk about interior design, workspaces, and also desk setups. One of the biggest things that have also changed and kind of evolved in the past year is the video editing process and the steps of how we edit our videos as well. So traditionally, we're shooting very large video files that are 5K or 6K resolution, and editing the raw files is not exactly the most convenient method, and everything has to be done in-house because the file sizes are massive. So in the past year, I kind of spent a bit of time learning DaVinci Resolve, and the way I do that is we actually import the footage into DaVinci, do all like the color grading and like the general stabilization of the footage, and then put it on Final Cut Pro 10 to actually cut the ProRes files and also add the LUTs afterwards. Color grading is probably my favorite part of the process, and that's because there's so many variables and it's just like a very like relaxing part of the process, I feel like. And all you have is your clips on the screen. It shows like your different graphs and waveforms, and over time you kind of get a feel for how to read them, from the levels of the exposure, the highlights, midtones, and shadows, and also the color balance itself. So in short words, I started using this panel about 6 months ago, and in the beginning, it was very intimidating, but after looking at some videos and learning what each specific term means, I was able to really use it to my advantage, and nowadays I can't really do color grading efficiently without a panel that has all of the different dials that are super quick to access. So the ones that I use the most are like the general highlight, shadows, and contrast. I also use the color boost, which actually boosts the saturation of the desaturated areas of your clip. There's also the saturation dial right here. But what the wheels allow you to do is able to kind of fine tune the exposure of your footage, and when you press the offset button, it turns the middle button into a tint and hue control, and the other one to a color temperature control. So that is pretty much all I do to my footage. I put it in the computer, and because there's a lot of dynamic range in the raw files, I'm able to kind of fine tune it, look at the graphs and make sure everything looks good and balance out the clip to what is technically correct in terms of exposure and white balance. And after that, I might do a few masks here and there and change the shades of certain colors. And then I would export it and add my stylistic LUT, which adds kind of the character or like the finishing layer and seasoning to your footage. I think just by kind of stepping back and looking at a workflow and figuring out where we can do better, that has essentially changed the entire way that we create our videos and how we look at video editing. Because in the past, I'm definitely someone who's done something one way and never planned to change it, even if it wasn't working that well. So if you're able to kind of like break that pattern or habit, then you're able to continue to improve and evolve your workflow over time. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video of the things that I'm trying to learn in 2021. And I think we've got our work cut out for us. I mean, the course is gonna take months. The website and stuff is just things that I'm chipping away at. And I think it's important to have your day-to-day tasks of like the video stuff and what is very important, as well as secondary things like the renovation projects, but also other topics and projects that are just on the side that you can continually chip away at and maybe even delegate if it makes sense. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.